Good morning, Canadian Yarn Heart. My name's Alyssa, and Willow's actually right there behind me, as you can see, and then there's Maya, Amy boy. So today we're going to be making these really cute, I know they don't look like much, but they are fingerless gloves. Here, I'll just put it on. And these can be really good to keep your hands warm in fall. They're good for driving. They're good for stuff like that. So I am moving you over to the overhead cam, and let's get started. All right, so the yarns I've used are this one that's called Knit It. It is the border. This one is called a super soft yarn. It's 100% acrylic. I did get this at Dollarama for $3.75. It says machine wash in warm water, and it doesn't give any sort of color. So that's the green. Now this one that I find is very, very similar to it is this Flex Loops and Threads from Michaels. Now, I think this one was $8 or $9, but it could be more than that. It's been a little while since I bought one of these balls of yarn. I haven't been to Michaels in a very long time. Hand wash and cold, it says do not bleach, do not dry flat, and do not iron. It is a 4 medium. It does recommend a 4.5 millimeter needle and a 5 millimeter hook. I am going to be using a 3 millimeter needle, 4 millimeter needle, and a 3 3/4 millimeter needle. Now, the reason I'm going to be doing different sizes is this is going to be one size, this will be a second size, and that will be the third size. So there's 3 sizes going on here. The hook we will be using is going to be, I need my 4, and I did not get it out first. Where is my 4? There it is. There's my 4 millimeter hook, and that will just give me the right sizing for the casting on. So we are going to start with 3 3/4. I have the wrong set here. Here is my 3 3/4. Oh no, this one is 3 1/4. Sorry, I did have another one out and I changed it. So this is 3 1/4. We're going to start with this. Now we are going to use the green. So the green we will be casting on 32 stitches. Now you do want to leave a little bit of a tail because you're going to be tying up the fingerless glove with this. Now they are pretty basic, and a lot of what I'm trying to do with fingerless gloves is just basically show you a really good stitch. I'm trying to come up with different ways to do that. So coffee cup cozies, fingerless gloves, hats, that kind of thing. So we are going to cast on 32, just like this. This is my preferred method of casting on because this will give you a really nice elastic band around around your work. It will be a lot more pliable and elastic than if you try to cast on or cast off. I have tried multiple methods. I do find that this is the best method to go with. I did want to say, if you're new here, welcome. Thank you very much for showing up. If you are new, or if you're a returning viewer, thank you very much for coming back. I appreciate that too. I do always try to earn your like and subscription. That is important to me. I would love to hear from you. Any questions, comments, or concerns you have below, even if it's just to say hi, how you doing? If you have a channel, by all means, let me know that you have a channel and you want me to check it out. I will gladly check it out. Pardon me. As I said, I'm just trying to cast on all my 32 stitches here. And I do find it very awkward when I'm filming it because I have to hold my hands in a slightly different position. So I'm going to continue casting on, and I will be back when I have my 32 stitches. And now, as always, I have 31 stitches on here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 24, 26, 28, 31. And you're going to take the 32nd stitch off of your hook, and that's how you do it. Now, this is going to be, I think I did 9 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 rows of ribbing. And that is where I want to just lift my light just a little bit to give myself a bit of light. So you knit one, you pull the yarn above, you put your yarn behind the needle, and you purl one. You put the yarn back down and you go on this side of the loop. That is knit. Put your yarn this way, and the yarn needle goes behind the loop. That is purl. You're going to do this for 8 rows. So I will be back when I have my 8 rows, and I will show you what that looks like and how to change the needle size. So now I've got my 8 rows. Now we're going to change yarn color, and we're going to change needle size. So just trim off the yarn. You will need that for the last little bit, so don't completely get rid of it. Now you're going to come in here and you're going to just straight knit stocking stitch for 7 rows. So that's knit, you're just going to keep knitting this row. So you just want to keep knitting away. Knit row, and then you're going to do a purl row. You can do that for 7 rows, and then, like I said, I will come back after I show you how to purl, just in case you're new. And then I'll show you at row 8 where the pattern actually, what you do for that pattern. And this pattern is actually called a small horizontal open work. And I actually want to show you the book I'm using that from. But I will have to pause, and I will come back and I will show you it from whichever book it is. So I will show you that in just a minute. I will pause you right now and show you in just a sec. So the book I have it in is this book called 400 Knitting Stitches by Potter Craft. And on page 173 is the small horizontal open work. And this is the row, this is what we're going to be doing right here, is this pattern. So stitches. So actually that one says the 9th row. So we are going to do knit and purl for 9 rows. I will link that book in the description box below. That way, if you want, now don't forget you do have 2 sizes of needles currently, so you want to make sure you take both of the 3 1/4 out and you grab your 4 millimeters. Now this one is purl. You're going to go through the back loop of the loop, and this is how you purl. So you're going to stocking stitch for 8 rows then. And then on the 9th row, we're going to do the open work according to that. So I will come back and I'll show you how to do that once I have my 8 rows. Okay, so here we have our 8 rows. I have that. Now our next row is going to be knit 1, yarn over, and knit 2 together. And you're going to do that all the way across. Knit, yarn over, knit 2 together. That is going to be your pattern for this row. And now you're going to repeat this entire pattern one more time. So you just keep yarn over and knit 2 together. And now you're going to stocking stitch for 8 rows again. And then you will be able to, this will be your next 9th row. And then you'll do 8 more rows of stocking stitch. So here's the 8 rows, and the first row you're doing of that. You're going to, as you can see, that's that first row. You're going to do 8 more, that row again, and then 8 more. So I will be back when I hit there. So I will be back in just a minute. Oh, well, we're almost at the end, and I'm going to show you. That is what I'm going to do. Just yarn over and knit one, only because I like to keep an even number for the yarn overs and that. And there's how you finish it off. So now you're just going to purl and knit for 8 rows. Do that row again, repeat this row again, and then do another 8-row stocking stitch. So now I've done the first one. I'm almost ready to do the next one. This is row 8. So you add 1 more row. So you'll have 9 rows in between on this one. And then you'll go back to 8 rows after you do this, the lace work row. So I just wanted to show you that because I ran into it as I was doing it. I figured it would be really good to let you know that. So you do have an extra row here, but that's because the row is actually, I think the pattern actually calls for 10 rows. So you're just including that last row, that's all. So I'm going to continue on. I have 1 more row, and then I get to add the second set of eyelets. And then I will be doing my, I think it's 8 rows here. And then I will come back and show you how to do the final ribbing. Now, I've done that. So this last row you're going to want to do is you knit, purl, knit, purl. I'm not mistaken, yeah. Yeah, I started a knit purl row, as you can see right there. And that is so that when you change in the next row, because you're going to do that for this row, and then the next row you're going to change the green, and you're going to change your needle size. So this is so that the color change looks right. I will be back in just a second, and I will show you how well it looks when you do this particular pattern. And at the very last one, you want to cast off 1 stitch. So now you do want to leave a bit of a tail because you are going to use this to stitch up your fingerless glove. You're going to grab your 3s, and you're going to grab your green yarn, or whatever color you're using for the borders. So you're going to come on here, and you're going to start this, and you're just going to do this for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So you're going to do 5 rows of ribbing, and then I will come back and I will show you how to stitch it up, and we will be done. So I'm just going to continue on my 5 rows of ribbing, and I will show you what it looks like, how to cast off, and how to stitch it up. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I've gotten my, I think it was 5 rows, and now what you're going to do is you're going to crochet them off. Just want to grab it and pull through the 2 of them. Sorry, I like to keep my needle along my arm so that I can filter the stitches down. So you're just going to continue to pull them off. I will finish off this, and then I will be right back to show you how I stitch it up. Okay, so now that I've got it all stitched up and cast off, we're going to grab the green, and we are going to pull both edges together, and you want to grab right there, those 2 stitches right there, and go into those 2 stitches. And then you're going to do the same thing here, and you just keep grabbing a couple of bars at the top. Now at the bottom of the green, you don't want to go any farther, so you're just going to grab it, and you're going to kind of go back up so that you're double backing on your work to make sure it doesn't come undone. That is kind of an important part to do, just to make sure you don't actually have it come apart on you. So there's that, and we're just going to darn that in. So there's the first seam. And apparently, I thought this was an actual acrylic yarn. I never had bothered to look before. But as I was working on this, I noticed it is 79% acrylic and 21% polyester. Now, polyester, the nice thing about polyester is it is a good heat retention yarn. It's not as good as wool or cotton at stuff like that, but it is pretty good. I do like polyester, so I do yarns in polyester for hats and stuff, and I do find that they actually do keep you warm. So polyester is a really good substitute for something that you want to keep yourself warm and you don't necessarily have the money for wool. So I do like polyester for that. And it is good for retaining heat too. And as I said, you're just going to double back, go back up, making sure you really get your yarn in. So I'm going to trim that off. I'm going to trim the green edge and then I'll do the purple edge next. And there is a reason I do it this way. You need to leave a thumb gap in the purple. And I do know that the yarn is up right where your thumb is going to be. So I'm going to just darn this in. And then I will show you how I handle that part. I'm going to pull that open, trim that off, and then I'm going to grab this. So the best thing to do here is to put it on your hands. So you've got the front and the back, and then you want to hold for your thumb. So this one, it's a pretty good notice that you've got a good for the two there. So you know that's a pretty good thumb gauge. So the best thing to do here is to put your stitch marker right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to travel this yarn down. And I like to do this because I don't like to have a new thread. I'm just going to travel each stitch, pulling it secure, not tight. So you don't want to pull it too tight. And then what you're going to do is right there, you're going to pull it most of the way, leaving a loop. And then if you loop yourself in, it should keep you nice and tight without having to come undone ever. And it won't pull that either. So you won't pull your thumb in. It'll be nicely spaced. And now you're just going to take this thread and you're going to travel it all the way down to the green, sewing this part up. And that will allow you to have a nice pair of fingerless gloves that do not do remember you have to make the second one. Sorry, totally forgot what I was saying. But remember to make the second glove because you really do want to make sure you have a pair of them. They're great for glove driving. They're great for if you're going for a walk and you just don't want mitts or you need to use your phone or whatever. They are wonderful for that. You can make them in a much better yarn, a much better quality yarn, like much of linen would be a good. I know I do have a linen yarn coming in the mail. I wanted to try and work with a linen. I'd never worked with a full linen before, so I want to see how that works. And I think that would be a great working glove. So if you're working outside and you need a glove, you would have a linen because they're actually really durable. That is the point of the linen, is durability. So that is why I recommend that. Now I do recommend to, if you notice how I got to the green, but I was worried there was going to be a tiny little bit of a hole there, just stick your finger in and just double check. And that way, if there is a hole there, you've got it, and now you're all stitched up. And no holes and no unexpected surprises. I do like to go a fair ways back up, double back, and come back down. And that way, get more in there. That way, if it does come undone on you, you have a really nice long tail to restitch it back up if you have to. And there you have it. There is what would be called the small open horizontal work. And there's one. And there's two. So I hope you have a wonderful day. I do hope to see you again. I would love to earn any like or subscribe. I would love to hear from you and any questions, comments, or concerns you have below. And I hope to see you again. Bye. Have a great day. Bye.